Welcome back. You are watching Digital Trends coverage of CES 2018 happening in Las Vegas. Hi there. My name's Maud Garrett, and all today and even yesterday we've been covering the best in tech that's been happening at CES, like wearables, voice activation and assist, televisions especially, but we haven't had a chance to talk cars until now. Joining me at the table, we do have Editor-in-Chief of Digital Trends, Jeremy Kaplan. Hey, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
And we have the Automotive Editor for Digital Trends. Hello, Alex K, we're going to say, because we're okay with K.
Yeah, thanks for having me too.
How's the car scene happening this year at CES?
You know, it's really interesting. CES has developed into its own sort of car show outside of the traditional ones. It's almost, you know, it's gained that clout and recognition in that space. And we tend to see a lot of the same things over and over again, but even so, this year still managed to surprise us with a lot of unique concepts.
You're pretty thrilled about Toyota, and you wanted to kick off the conversations there. Why? What's happening with Toyota?
So a lot of the things we saw, we expected a lot of talk about autonomous driving and autonomous systems, and Jeremy and I have seen a lot of it together. So the first thing that I saw that really sort of struck out for me was the Toyota E-Pallet concept. And why I like that is because it diverts so far away from a traditional car that it sort of makes it easier to digest the concept of having some sort of automotive delivery system
multi-functionality
or functionality.
Designed
so,
to help
like Jeremy, if I came to you and I gave you an empty box and I said, "This is actually filled with potential," you'd like slam the door in my face.
I would laugh at you.
But Toyota made it actually work because they rolled this thing on the stage and they said that this is a completely modular platform that you can kit out for ride sharing, automated deliveries. You can do mobile retail spaces, so stores could come to you and things like that. And it was very interesting. You can even link them together and make sort of like a, you know, like a wagon train style sort of setup if you wanted. If you wanted to go camping, if you wanted to outfit it for that.
The one standard size, or do they come in various sizes?
It looks like the concept is just one big size, and essentially it looks like an automated bus, but it's just like it's completely empty. And again, it's like something. It's like you're selling me a bill of goods here. But if they can make it happen, where it's completely automated. All electric, and there are major companies that are on board already. We can get very used to seeing these things on the road, delivering, you know, our Amazon deliveries, or Pizza Hut got on board. That's a lot of pizza, but maybe.
I'm a big girl.
Well, you never know. I mean, you could do like a Super Bowl party, but for the stadium.
What I think is fascinating about this is we talk a lot about autonomous cars. We talk a lot about the future of vehicles. There are a lot of demonstrations here at CES of what cockpits of the future might look like. And this is a look at, you know, if there were a self-driving vehicle, does it need to look like vehicles we're familiar with?
Exactly.
Does it need to have a sloping hood and the mirrors on the side and a box for people to sit in? Well, realistically, no. It doesn't have. There's no reason for it to have any of that stuff.
It can look like a toaster.
This looks like an Animal Crackers box with some wheels on the side of it.
Yeah.
But the point is, all of a sudden you've got that space, and like, what can you put inside of that?
Right. The first thing that came to mind for me was marketplaces, and having that mobility where you can stock up your wares, shops, and stuff, and congregate in the one place, and it's so easy to assemble and then to leave again.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a great opportunity. Go Toyota.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like, let's say you order, like, if you go to IKEA, and they're not on board yet, but like, for example, you wanted to order something super large that needed delivery. Instead of shelling out for some crazy delivery service and having people come over, you can have this thing roll up to your house, you can pick up your large item, and you wouldn't have to deal with it. And then it would go off. Tracking packages would probably be easier and a lot safer because there's not a driver sort of put at risk to that. Things like that. I think there's a lot of potential, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go. They want to demonstrate it at the Olympics because it's going to be at Tokyo. So I guess we'll see.
Well, something similar to it was in a Black Mirror episode as well, the remote pizza delivery as well. Yeah. That ended so well. I won't spoil a thing. Moving on though, Lyft is doing some big things in the vehicle space. Let's talk about that.
So during CES, Lyft and autonomous software developer and hardware developer Aptiv partnered up to bring rides to anyone attending the show, which is really cool because a lot of the things that we see are usually in closed door meetings or demonstrations.
Or closed tracks as well.
Closed tracks, right. Like closed circuit is what I was trying to say, thanks. Where like it's just to the media and it's not open to really anybody. And so they rely on us to share as best we can that experience. This opened up sort of the show for anyone if they wanted to go ride. They had mapped out 20 different locations within the city of Las Vegas. And with a little briefing, you could take these rides and see how this is in a practical application.
Where's your head at with getting into a car with a driverless car?
Not technically driverless, because the state of Nevada requires someone behind the wheel.
Uh-huh.
Details.
I mean, it's a small thing, and that sort of, that sort of takes away from the, I guess, the illusion almost, because you have a gentleman sitting there who's not driving, but he's monitoring in case something happens.
But especially because the experience of having a car that drives itself versus a car with a driver is exactly the same.
Yeah.
We were in one. We took this ride, and it didn't feel anything other like being in a taxi. It was just like being in a taxi. Yes, there's a guy back with his hands sort of near the wheel, just in case. But it was just like being in a regular taxi, which ultimately is kind of the point here. Self-driving vehicles are not crazy. They're not far-fetched. It's not futuristic. It's here. It's right now. And it feels just like being in any other car.
I think that's some of the apprehension where people think it's going to be this crazy, white-knuckle experience.
Yeah.
And it's not. It feels really normal and sort of boring, and boring in the best way, because it's supposed to feel like that. It's just very, there's no jerkiness, or, it depends on how they develop it. It doesn't feel unnatural.
Oh, we've got footage, I believe, of that happening right now. There's a guy, he just, I don't like that. He's nearly touching the wheel, but it's definitely turning on his own. He just looks like a very unattentive driver, which again would make me very nervous, but you didn't feel unsafe at all.
He didn't say a word, and I think he was trying to add to the experience, where we're trying to hey, Eric, look at us, and he's like, no. So, yeah, that's pretty much.
Do we know when they're going to be hitting the streets for real?
They haven't said that they're going to extend that partnership outside of CES, but I thought it was a good way of people outside of the media getting a chance to experience that and normalizing the concept of a specific application of what's it called? Autonomous automotive driving. It's a lot of A's.
That's tricky.
You talking about tongue twisters? There's one.
There's one. Dax Jacobson's in the chat, and he's like, self-driving cars are so 2016. We need self-driving cities.
Oh, I like it. Oh,
so the cars stay stationary and the city moves around.
The city moves around it.
I like it.
I just like the idea of mobility. And yeah, think big, and that's what CES is all about. Now you've got news with Bitin as well. What are they up to?
Bitin is an automotive startup that sort of came up, out of nowhere, and that's sort of become a trend here at CES. A startup comes out and they show an all-electric vehicle that is self-driving and has all these bells and whistles connected to it, and they basically did the same thing. I mean, we've seen it before with Faraday Future. We've seen other electric startups trying to follow the Tesla model as best they can, and they don't often amount to much. We kind of watch it with optimistic, with optimism, but we're reserved optimism,
It's hard not to be sarcastic looking at this company
for sure.
because of what happened with Faraday Future. Faraday Future came out with the big splash 2 years ago. They said, we're going to create an all-electric vehicle. It's the vehicle of the future. It's going to drive itself. Whatever you want it to do, it's going to do. And then last year, they showed off a prototype, which worked.
Oh, yeah,
which
we took a ride in it.
And then this year, we've seen this company steadily fall apart and collapse, and now who knows if they'll actually be around in a couple of months. And so Bitin has come out and said, forget them, we're going to do this instead. And it's like, well, okay, that's a great idea.
Try.
If you can do it, we're looking forward to it.
The concept seems very similar, and they want to they're calling it more of a mobile device than a car. And they have a lot of phone features like heart rate monitoring and facial recognition.
Which is fascinating.
That's all well and good. That would be great if they actually did it. And what makes me even more skeptical is that they put a number down and a date. They're saying $45,000, and it'll be available in China next year, and then in the US in 2020. And it's like...
Sounds like all talk.
Oh man, please,
a lot of talk.
Please do it. I don't believe you, but I'd like to prove me wrong. I'd be happy to be proven wrong.
Righty, and the last thing that we're going to talk about here with GT Cars is Nvidia. Now, they are award-winning, according to you guys.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because I happen to have the award right here.
I have so many people to thank for this.
What did Nvidia do? What did Nvidia do to earn a DT award?
So Nvidia really put forth their efforts towards autonomous driving, and they mention it sort of at the same importance as their gaming and PC development, which is really surprising. And most of their press conference that they had at CES was dedicated to this. So they revealed the Nvidia Drive Xavier processor. This is the first processor dedicated or developed specifically to go into automotive cars. It's not like a retrofitted processor from something else. They made it from the ground up just for cars. And what they're saying, the capability of it is astonishing. And I think it's really great because we hear all this talk about companies who want to hit these goals that they've put for some sort of level 3 or level 4 autonomy, and then Nvidia just put this on the table and said, bam, like just use that.
Yeah, we were talking a lot about the change that happens here at CES, the trends that we see and we watch. A few years ago, there were a lot of car companies that were talking about autonomy and saying, we're going to do this for you. Toyota would say, we've got developers working on it, don't worry, in 5 or 10 years, your next Toyota is going to be self-driving and we're all over this. And here Nvidia comes along and says, we don't need car companies to do this, we're a technology company, this is a technology problem. And they said, bam, here's the chip that makes it happen. Here it is.
The chip is only one part of it though. What is Nvidia, what is their vision with what the car actually looks like and does?
So it powers certain particular motherboards, and a lot of them are either developed for autonomous driving that they've showed demonstrations of how it uses all the sensors and processes its recognition. They even made a virtual test world because they wanted, because they do a lot of machine learning where the computer learns from testing. And they said there's not enough roads and time in the world for us to develop this, so we made our own in a virtual space.
Wow.
And since they know a thing or two about making video game worlds, they generated a whole test world and just plug that in. So it's like you have this really fully rendered driving simulator with the computer looking at it as if you're looking at the road ahead of it. So it's pretty, they were going to do that. A lot of AR, software, alternative reality things that they want to do.
They have a whole platform that they've built out here. The challenge here, especially with autonomous vehicles, the technology is still being evolved and enhanced in a lot of ways. For example, one of the things that's key to a self-driving car is what's called LiDAR, which is a laser-based depth measuring system, similar to radar, but it uses lasers. The existing ones are electromechanical, and they're big and they're clunky. And here at CES, there are 5 or 6 companies that have developed solid-state ones, which are obviously the next generation and are essential to making self-driving cars. My point being, the little bits of technology are still being worked on. I think what we saw here from Nvidia was, this is the heart of the car. This is the heart of self-driving vehicles. They've got a whole platform that somebody can just pick up and drop into anything. A Tesla, a Toyota, a Volvo, a Jeep, whatever. And that's why it's really transformative. Instead of 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, bam, here's the chip, we'll have it in 2 years, we'll have it in a year. We can make this happen.
Which car company do you think will be taking this technology to the next step first?
They have partnerships with companies like Volvo, who we've seen do a lot of driver assist programs already that are pretty significant. I would love to see what they do with this technology. They have a lot of, they themselves have a lot of self-imposed goals that you would, are pretty hefty, but I really believe that they can do it.
Right. Now, Jeremy, that's just one of the awards that DT has been giving out, but you have been leading a team of people to hand out the prestigious awards. Tell us more about the DT awards happening here at CES.
I am not going to.
Oh.
I am not going to spill the beans. This is the CyberStag. We are going to hand out another 8 or 10 of these.
Still to go.
And I am not going to tell you what they are. You're going to have to stick around tomorrow when we'll be revealing the winners of the Top Tech of CES awards that Digital Trends hands out every year. We'll be doing it live here on stage at some point tomorrow. I'm not even going to tell you when. You'll have to stick around, and we'll tell you then.
Wow,
it's a
smoke
secret.
and mirrors. Wow, you're really being...
That's what I do.
I like that. All right, so tomorrow you will find out which companies have been awarded the hashtag CyberStag for hashtag DTCES of 2018. That's pretty cool. Thank you guys so much for talking cars with me. Finally got it in there, and it's always great to talk about, and thanks for filling me in because I hadn't known anything yet. But we obviously will be around. We're going to wrap up the day just in case you've missed any or all of it. We've got you covered right here at Digital Trends.